out by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown!
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video of 3 Guys and Mike. I'm William, joined by the man himself,
Little Man.
And again, we are back with another Week 3 NFL video. And I think this week is very important to the both of us because we hate each other now for this week. And it is obviously Dallas week, as the Eagles fans call it. And what do you guys call it?
Eagles week.
Okay. And honestly, I just hate the Cowboys, despise everything about them, despise their fans. I'm sure most NFL fans can relate to that. And also, I want to take this time to shout out Jeremiah, who is, even though he's not here with us physically, he's doing his thing on TikTok.
He's not dead. He's just not recording with us.
He's doing his thing on TikTok. He's, having some good content, and I think that he could really flourish in this content if he actually, consistently does it. Yeah. I think Mike could be really good at it.
He has a lot of backlash, too, for some of his hot takes.
Yeah, mostly for me, but, Giants are not a 10-win team. But, before we get into it as well, I want to remind you guys to subscribe, to like the videos, keep on sharing the videos. It means a lot to us. And, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. And, we're going to start off with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Let me go ahead and start off with your thoughts about this game.
No, isn't it crazy to think that Dak hasn't played them in 2 years? The first game last year was we had to go through Ben DiNucci's side army and just absolutely blowing the game. Second game we had Red Rifle at quarterback. But I think the Cowboys' success against Hurts last year, we talked about it last video then, is all about pressuring him and making him throw the ball really fast, making it come out of his hands really fast because I don't think he's really excelled at that yet because he's still a young quarterback. But I feel like that's where they kind of made it difficult on him last year. Yeah. But with the Eagles, I think they can take over this game on the ground. I think they like using Miles Sanders against the Cowboys. I think they're the team who he's had most rush yards on.
Yeah. His best
career games. He's had really great games against them. I think it's going to be a hard-fought win. Maybe I could see it coming down to a game-winning field goal.
I can see it as well.
But I'll take the Cowboys in a close one.
It's not biased, but no, I agree with you with Jalen Hurts. I think that's the way you kind of, you have to make him be with his arm because that's kind of his weakest thing. I don't think his arm is weak by any means. I don't think he's horrible at passing, but that's not his strong suit compared to his legs. But looking at this game, I think both teams, honestly, when it comes to it, coming into the season with training camp and everything, people really weren't looking at the Eagles and the Cowboys defenses as factors to play into the season. But the Cowboys defense, from being almost historically bad all season last year to now having a really good game against the Chargers, who are, have a lot of firepower on offense, and the Eagles holding the Niners to 17 points, and then the Falcons, who are known for good offense, even though their record hasn't been good, their offense has always been pretty decent.
Everyone thought they were going to put up a 30-piece on the Eagles.
And holding them to 6 points. So I think both of these defenses are really underrated, and a lot of people aren't giving them the credit that they deserve. Looking at it, I think the Cowboys losing D-Law is kind of big, especially with the Eagles' offensive line, how they look so far when they're fully healthy. You look at our tackle, Mailata, who we just signed a big contract. And again, he's never played football before, I think, 2019. Actually last year, he's never played football, not even at any level, not college, anything. He was a rugby player and coming in, and he was the highest graded tackle last week, actually offensive lineman last week. And he held Bosa to 0 pressures, 0 sacks, 0, everything. He was phenomenal versus someone who has been proven and had an outstanding rookie year. It's just really, it's really like a good story for the Eagles and for him himself.
For sure.
And I do think that this offensive line, I think that's where they need to flourish, because I don't think the Cowboys' defensive line is bad by any means, but I think that their depth isn't there, especially along with other teams especially like the Eagles. So I think that this is where their offensive line should shine. Again, how you said, Miles Sanders should have a big game, and I think he should have a big game. He should get a lot of touches. But for Jalen Hurts, I think, and I said this at the end of the last video, I think this is a game where Nick Sirianni needs to correct his play calling. No more leaving points on the field. You need to take field goals no matter what, because you have to match this high-powered offense with the Cowboys.
In a division game.
Yeah, and you never know, because this Cowboys running game looks really good, so they could just drain the clock out, or they could score in a flash. You really never know. And I think that Jalen Hurts, he needs to use his legs. I think he needs to impose fear on defenses with his legs, because no one's really scared of his arm. I'm just going to say right now, no one's scared of his arm. No one's scared of this receiving core, because you really haven't proven anything. But I think Jalen Hurts needs to use his legs. I think he has, 144 yards so far this season, which is second behind Lamar Jackson. So yeah, I think that those are the key components of this game. And again, I think play action is also big because obviously he's a running quarterback. Miles Sanders could get involved, and play action is pretty much a young quarterback's best friend when you look at it. So I think that this game is going to come down to being close. I'm going to take the Eagles, no bias here. And again, I agree with Oman. I think it could come down to like a game-winning field goal. So, yeah. What's your second game?
Second game, I have the Packers and Niners. Sunday night prime time. As we all know, this has been a rivalry brewing for the past, 3-4 years. It met in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Met last year, but as we all know, 49ers were shot. Just complete with injuries. But I think I don't have the Niners showing the fight they had in the NFC Championship game or even last year. I think A-Rod and the Go Pack Go, I think they take full control of this game, and I could possibly see a blowout. Because look at the Niners. They don't really have 3 running backs, so you're really leaving it all to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ooh, wow.
And if you're being honest, I don't think he's that guy to win your game. I think he needs a run game.
So you're going with the Packers in a landslide?
The Packers.
Yikes. I actually wasn't expecting that. I don't know why. From you. I don't know, but when you look at these two teams, I think they're complete opposites. When you look at it, you look at the quarterback position. Jimmy G is kind of a game manager, and I don't think that's an insult by any means. A game manager can still be a really good quarterback. And you look at Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, one of the greatest NFL players of all time. Then you look at their offense, how the Niners rely on like a ground and pound game. They rely on their heavy, big offensive linemen using the toss plays, pulling guards, everything like that. You look at the Packers, they have Aaron Jones who could receive out of the backfield, Devontae Adams going deep. So I just think both of these offenses are just different kinds of offenses, and then you look at their defenses. Their defenses are Packers really don't have one when it comes to when you look at the elite defenses. Packers are really up there in that conversation, but the Niners are. The Niners are a punch you in the mouth team. If you make any mistake, they're gonna make you pay for it. And when you look at this Packers offensive line, which has been trouble for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in years past when it came to physical teams, especially with the Niners, I think the Niners have given them the most trouble probably out of any team. And this offensive line is still brand new. I don't think they're gonna look as bad as they did in Week 1 with the physical defense, but I think it's gonna be pretty bad news if you don't like shut it down, and if you allow Aaron Rodgers to keep on getting hit. With that being said, I'm saying the Packers. For some reason, I just can't bet against Aaron Rodgers right now. I think he has a chip on his shoulder. And again, I could be completely wrong. I don't think it's going to be a landslide. I think it's going to be a dogfight. But the reason why is because I'm not trusting in the 49ers simply because of their health. Their running backs are shot. Mostert's out for the year. Trey Sermon has a concussion. We don't know if he's going to play yet. What's his name? Elijah Mitchell. He's hurt his shoulder, I believe. So they have a lot of running backs that are just hurt. And this is a game where they need to get George Kittle involved. In his first 2 games, hasn't really played well. But I think this is a game where you really have to get him involved. But I'm still going with the Packers. I just have a feeling.
Now listen, I know I picked the Packers in this game. But if the 49ers want to win, you gotta be on the X Factor.
What's the X Factor?
Brandon Ayuk. So we all know Jair Alexander's gonna be covering Deebo Samuel. He's been the number 1 receiver for the Niners in the first 2 weeks. So I can see Brandon Ayuk having a big game. If they want to win this game, him and Kittle.
Yeah, that's gonna be the recipe. What about the next game?
The next game I have the Seahawks and Vikings. What do you think about this one?
Seahawks and Vikings, I think it's a really interesting matchup. I think both teams are. I think the Seahawks are really good. I think the Vikings are competitive. It sucks how their season.
You kind of hesitated there.
Yeah, it sucks how their season panned out so far. You look at it, Dalvin Cook, as I mentioned last video, he had an ankle injury late in the game, and he has a sprained ankle now. But he's still gonna play. This Vikings said they're still gonna rely on him to be that workhorse back. But if you're the Seahawks, you can't allow that to happen. You can't let a second week in a row where a workhorse back just takes over the game completely and runs you guys out of the stadium.
Imagine going against Derrick Henry
and then
Dalvin 1 week
Cook.
And then Dalvin Cook the next week. How do you game plan for that?
Yeah, like I really don't understand it. And with the Vikings, if they want to have any success, I think, and this goes for a lot of teams, a lot of defenses, you have to get pressure on Russ. I think that's obviously their weakest point on the team is their offensive line. You look at last week when this offense was going crazy, scoring a bunch of points. Then once they started to get pressure on Russell Wilson, this offense fell apart. It just wasn't the same. So I think that's your key. You have 2 really good defensive ends. You have a good, decent front 7. But where I'm worried for the Vikings is their secondary. Their secondary isn't impressing me at all. I do understand they have Harrison Smith. I really like him. He's a really good player. But Tyler Lockett has been incredible. He's on pace to have his best year ever. And DK, again, as you were saying, Salibar was mentioning how DK hasn't really been there in late in the games. And he hasn't really been there all season so far. But I think this is a game where he could have a breakout game. There's no reason why he shouldn't. And I think the Seahawks are going to win this game. But I can't trust them that much. But I do have them winning this game. I'm just not that confident in them.
Yeah, I think this game has the potential to be a shootout between both teams. And like you said, Dalvin Cook can take over a game at any moment. But I think the Seahawks, since they're going to be game planning for him mostly, I think this game comes out to whoever's wide receivers can get them the most big plays.
Yeah.
I think Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson versus Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And that's why I came down to who wins this game is the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking DK and Tyler Lockett any day. Their speed and the way that they can make big plays for Russ. I mean, even when Russ is on the scramble, they like to move around and make it easy for him to make the throws, and I think the Seahawks win.
I think that's a really good point, how you isolated the receivers and just looked at it. And they're kind of similar. Justin Jefferson and DK have been kind of quiet. Not a season that you'd expect from them.
Yeah.
But Thielen and Lockett have had really good years so far. All right, what's the next game, Aaron?
I got the Rams, Bucks.
Okay.
Everyone's saying this is potential NFC Championship energy right here.
I agree with that.
And I 100% agree. Simply because this is going to be a very defensive heavy game. Whoever can accumulate the most turnovers wins this game. And one big play on offense, I think that does it right there. A knife straight to the heart. Just big plays. Just whoever wins the turnover battle. And I think Matt Stafford against this defense is going to pick them apart.
Oh, really?
I do. I like Cooper Kupp, you saw what he did to them last year.
Yeah.
Him and Robert Woods. And now you add Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson, and Tutu Atwell.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it looks too good on the Buccaneers considering that they still have Sean Murphy bunting out.
Yeah.
So I take the Rams in a close one.
Okay. So you have them making that explosive play on offense. And, Okay.
They're taking the heart away from the Buccaneers.
Yeah. But with your statement about the NFC Championship game preview, I agree. I think these are the two most physical teams, two most complete teams, two most well-coached teams in the NFC. So I could definitely see that happening. Buccaneers coming off of a big win against the Atlanta Falcons. But in that game, what I found interesting, you have Tom Brady who had 5 touchdowns. You had the defense who had 2 pick sixes, and I think 3 interceptions combined, right? And the thing about it is that at one point in time, this game was a 3-point game. It was 25-28, and the reason is this Buccaneers defense allowed a lot of points in a short span of time, within about a quarter and a half, 25 points, and the Buccaneers offense didn't really do anything for about a quarter. And the reason why? Same thing, the recipe to beat Brady last year, and for most of his career, he was getting pressured. He was getting sacked. His offensive line was holding up, and the Falcons were doing a great job. Now, if you look at one team who I trust the most to get pressure, is a team with the best player in the NFL, Aaron Donald. A team with him on the nose, lining him up at the end, just doing a bunch of things with them. They could send any blitzes. What's his name? Joseph Day or whatever. He could also cause some havoc. So I think that's your key, and I trust them to get pressure on Tom Brady more than I trust the Buccaneers to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. And with Cooper Kupp, how you were saying just how he was doing it last year, and again what he was doing against them last year was having yards after the catch, right? Having yards after he make a catch, and I think that the Rams running game is the emphasis on this game. It's the thing that I'm going to be looking at the most. And the reason why is because you have Darrell Henderson, who got banged up at the end of the Colts game last week, but he had some really good runs. And your offensive line, they're not great, but I don't think they're bad. I think they have potential to be top 10,
they're not bad.
But they just need time to get going.
I think they're a huge upgrade from last year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, last year that was something that was struggling on their offensive side. And their offensive line is going to have their first real test. Their first test that's going to be really difficult for them. But I think what you do when you have a running back who's kind of battling a little injury and your running game isn't there where you want it yet, you honestly have to give extensions of the running game. You give Cooper Kupp the ball in space, he could take off. Again, your receivers love to block. That's something that everyone always says about the Rams. Their receivers love to block. So you give Cooper Kupp, who I think leads the league in the past year and a half or something like that, in yards after catch. You have Robert Woods, who's really good. Deshaun Jackson could get loose in space. So I think that's something they have to do to help out Matthew Stafford against his good defense and just to help out your run game. And I'm going to take the Rams in this game as well. I just have a feeling about it right now. I'm taking the Rams. I think they're the more complete team. Jalen Ramsey's having maybe the best year so far of his career. He looks aggressive. He looks, he just looks insane out there. And I'm going to take them right now. I'm not saying that this is the result that can happen to me later on. I'm just saying right now I think the Rams are the better team.
That was a good take.
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
Very good. Saints and Patriots.
Okay.
I see this as a another defensive heavy game.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 top 10 defenses easily in the NFL. And I also think it's a great test for both quarterbacks. For Mac Jones, a young rookie, and for Jameis Winston to still kind of find his groove with the Saints offense. Mm-hmm. But if I'm being honest, I think, oh man, this is actually pretty hard. I think the Patriots defense I think they can make Jameis Winston look like how he once was before the eye surgery. I mean, this defense just flies around. They like to create turnovers. That D-line is just really pressure heavy. And I have the Patriots in this one. And I think it comes down to game management, which I think Mac Jones at a very young age, I think he can do it very well.
I like that. I pretty much agree with everything you just said. And again, like how you started off, you said you feel like it's going to be a defensive game. I honestly thought it's going to be like Dolphins and the Patriots, week 1.
Yeah.
It's going to be a game like that. And again, you look at both of these teams, they have both really good defenses. They have both great head coaches who've been proven. And but the thing that's different about these teams is our offense. And the Saints offense could be, I think their heights could be way better than the Patriots offense, but their lows could be so much lower. And I think that the Patriots are more consistent on offense. You have Mac Jones, who right now, he is the guy of the future for the Patriots. I don't think he could have success many other places, but for the Patriots, they complement each other really well.
He fits that offense really good.
Yeah, he fits that offense really well, and he doesn't really make mistakes. Jameis Winston, you don't know what Jameis you're going to get from week to week. And let's remember that Mac Jones and this offense are still kind of gelling together. Mac Jones was just named the starter a little bit like a month ago, and this offense is still brand new. You're bringing in a bunch of pieces, so they only have one training camp to get better. So this team is going to get better over time. This offense is going to be more explosive, and if you're taking in the fact that they're, as I've been saying, they're consistent. Jameis Winston, you don't know which Jameis you're going to get. Even Alvin Kamara scoring 1,000 touchdowns on Christmas and then having 5 yards. You don't know which Alvin Kamara and which offensive line, which performance you're going to get from this offense. So I'm going to go with the Patriots. I still think the Saints could win. I still think Jameis Winston could have an explosive game. But yeah, right now, Patriots are just consistent.
Let's get into a couple of division matchups. All right?
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with the Chargers and the Chiefs, which I'm very highly anticipating this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into it for sure. The 2 young, talented quarterbacks.
Uh-huh.
But with me, I think the Chargers win this game. Or if they want to win this game, they have to do it with their feet. You have to use Herbert in the read option. You have to use all 3 running backs in Kelly, Eckler, and Jackson. I mean, you really have to win with time of possession, and you have to do it on the ground.
Yeah.
But with me, I think the Chiefs just win with too many big plays. We saw it last year. The Chargers gave up way too many of those against Kansas City, and I could possibly see a repeat. And I think Chiefs take round 1.
Nice. I like that point about getting Herbert, design runs, because that's something really no one expects. Even though he's athletic, you don't expect it. But yeah, looking at these 2 teams, I think it's going to be a really competitive game. I think Chargers have another opportunity to win a close game. That's something that I'm making an emphasis that they need to start doing. And again, this is a really tough task. This is the toughest team they're going to be facing. Herbert, I think he has an opportunity to finally explode, to finally have that game. Because in his first game against the Washington football team, 20 points. Last week, how many? 17 points. Now here, you have a Chiefs defense that's allowing, I think, the most yards or second to most yards in the NFL.
On the ground.
On the ground, and then also total yards as well. And I think points, they allowed a lot of points. They allowed 28 or something like that to the Browns, and then 36 to the Ravens. So I think this is a time where your offense needs to explode. And I think that this offensive line, who was new, who was gelling together still, I think they should handle their own against Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I think that this is an opportunity for them to really put the NFL on notice that our offensive line is not to be messed with, But looking at this, another matchup that I really want to see is Derwin James and Travis Kelce. I want to see them because Derwin James is a big physical guy. He's lengthy, has speed. So is Travis Kelce.
I think they'll throw a couple guys at Travis Kelce, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
with Derwin James and Kenneth Murray being one.
Didn't he change his number?
To 9, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. But yeah, for the Chargers for the Chiefs coming off a big time loss, all in the media. Andy Reid's coming off of the loss, coming back home. Tyreek Hill has a chip on his shoulder, as we know, with that game, having a bad performance. And again, if the Chargers or any other defense decides to take away Tyreek Hill, let's not forget this Chiefs offense has a lot of weapons, and that's something that could work, but it's not going to work as well as you hope it does. And again, as you were saying last year, Chiefs had a bunch of big plays. Last year, the same thing. Week 2, Chargers were holding them all game. Tyreek Hill has a few big plays and the game's over. Tyreek just needs one play. So I'm going with the Chiefs still here. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think if the Chiefs make any mistakes, Chargers are going to capitalize, but I'm going with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Now moving on to the Colts-Titans. It's a big division matchup. As we all know, the Colts are going to be without Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, he sprained both of his ankles, which is very sad to see. I feel so bad for him. I mean, can he catch a break, like, for real? Honestly. I mean, the guy's just...
Guy's not on my team.
I just hope it gets better. Toxic. Titans coming off full momentum, coming off a comeback win in Seattle, which is huge, right? They obviously have the edge here. Whole secondary is just vulnerable at this point. I expect big games from Julio Jones and A.J. Brown if they can't get Derrick Henry going. But I think all things considered, I have the Titans winning.
Do you think it's going to be a blowout, or do you think it's going to be like...
division game, I don't think it'll be a blowout. I say like 10 points.
Okay.
10 points, 2 touchdowns.
Looking at this game again, no Wentz. You're going to have to rely on Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason.
I don't really know much about him, to be honest. What I'm saying is that your offensive line, a bunch of people are expecting a lot of things out of them. And I think you have 3 really good running backs, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, and then Jonathan Taylor. You have 3 really good running backs who really haven't performed or had a breakout game this season. I think that's where I don't think you're going to win this game, but I think that's where the Colts need to show up at. They need to be physically imposing. They need to run the ball. And again, all these backs can catch, so they should help out their quarterback. I think it's going to help them out. I think they should have some good plays. But yeah, with the Titans, you have Derrick Henry coming off of a huge, massive game. He finally got his legs under him. He's finally, and I think this is an impressive win because also Taylor Lewan missed that game against Seattle. We don't know his status for this game, but that's really good morally because you had a huge game, 3 touchdowns with your best offensive lineman out. And I think that Ryan Tannehill and this passing game, I think they're going to figure it out. I'm not too sure if it's going to be this game, but I think eventually they're going to figure it out. Again, Julio's a new addition. It's going to take time. Julio's also not the youngest receiver. It's going to take time. He battles a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And he looked really good last week. A.J. Brown, I think he got banged up a little bit, right? So I just think this passing game is going to get better. And I think this is a game where you perfect it. On the offensive side of the ball for the Colts, they're not really going to be doing much scoring-wise. So I think that's where you kind of throw things out.
Did you already mention the O-line for the Titans?
No.
Just Jesus. That O-line doesn't get it together. The Colts might get an upset.
I
only called it an upset because they don't have the starting quarterback. They have Jacob Eason back there.
Yeah. But yeah, again, this Titans offensive line, I'm not really sold on the Titans for being contenders like that. There's still a lot of holes in their roster. But yeah, I think that this is a game where they're going to take advantage. I think this is where they're going to start to pull away from the Colts in this division.
Moving on to the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. Justin Fields. We all saw this coming. Finally gets to shine. Finally gets to start, right?
Yeah.
But
Andy Dalton gets hurt coincidentally. Running out of bounds.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
But I think he's going against a very tough opponent in the Cleveland Browns. He gets to face that fierce front seven. Secondary, which really doesn't give up too much unless it's against the Chiefs. But, I like Justin Fields, don't get me wrong. I think he's a future for Chicago for 10 plus years. It's just the first game that he gets to start against is against a very, very good defense. So I'm taking the Browns in this one. And also they get OBJ back.
Landslide or no?
Nah.
What do you...
I'll buy a landslide.
What do you think?
I'd say by 13.
That's kind of a lot. I mean, yeah.
2 touchdowns. To me, anything over 2 touchdowns is a landslide.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, again, the big story about this game is Justin Fields. But first, I want to talk about the Browns. I think the Browns finally found their success. And if you look at the last 2 games, you pretty much get the ball out of Baker's hands early. You make him have some good plays, good decisions. You have a lot of scripted drives that are really good. Start off the game. And yeah, you just give it to your 2 backs. You let them do a lot of the work. You pretty much take the pressure off of Baker, and you make him pretty much become part of the offense. Not you're making him the offense. You get what I mean? You're not making him beat you or win you games. You're not making him come from behind. You're having your running backs do a lot of the work, and he's just tagging along, and he's doing his job too. I'm not saying he's not.
Last week was huge, if I'm being honest, because he lost Jarvis Landry the first play.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. And he also hurt his
separated his shoulder.
Yeah, he separated his shoulder and still came back and ran for a touchdown. So I think that he's showing really good heart, really good fight. And again, as you said, OBJ is coming back. I'm not expecting much from him because it's his first game back, but that's still good.
I am.
And the Bears as a defense, you're really gonna be like, okay, Odell's back. We're not gonna focus on him. No, you're gonna focus on him no matter what. You're gonna give him the attention. And I think that's where the running game could succeed. And I think that's where Baker is gonna have a big game. But going on with Justin Fields, the things I'm gonna look for him, I'm not expecting a win from the Bears, even though I think it could happen. And here are my points. I think that getting the ball out of his hands quickly, getting him settled into the game early on, and even when things go wrong, maybe he comes off of a turnover, you go back to getting him quick passes, getting him in rhythm again. You take care of the football for your Justin Fields because you have a really good Bears defense who got you a pick 6 last week, got another turnover last week, and this Browns offense, I think Baker can make a mistake. So I think that if Justin Fields, if he just limits the turnovers, could be really good and it could work out for them. And I think Justin Fields needs to use his legs. I think that's the biggest thing right here because I think your offensive line is gonna struggle. You're playing against the Browns with Myles Garrett,
he likes to bite on a lot of stuff though. Mm-hmm. Myles Garrett, he likes to bite on a lot of reads.
Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's aggressive. He's pretty much like a bull. He just sees red and he's crazy. And I think Justin Fields could utilize that and get out of the pocket. And people are gonna have to start paying attention more to his legs. So I think that's what I look for him. But I'm still taking the Browns. I think they're a really good team, solid team, and I think that I don't think it's gonna be a landslide, but I think they're gonna have a convincing win.
Now, Washington football team and the Buffalo Bills. I think this has potential to be another great game in Week 3. Washington football team has to bring a lot of pressure on Josh Allen.
A lot.
Because if I'm being honest, I think the Washington secondary is it's not very good as it was last year. If I'm being honest. Back-to-back weeks they gave up 8+ receptions to Sterling Shepard and to Keenan Allen. And I think the way the offense has moved down the field on them this year, it's always through the air. It's always in the secondary. Because their run game, no one can really run on this team. So that's already bad news for the Bills. But the Bills have Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs going against that secondary, which I think is the weak link. So I have the Bills winning this one. I don't think Taylor Heineke, because this Bills defense is really good. If I'm being honest, I like them this year, and I know they didn't have Tua last week, the Dolphins, but I really like what they did against Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. One thing I'm gonna say is, how you're saying that the secondary is the weak link of the Washington football team. I think a product of that, is also your defensive line wasn't generating as much pressure as you would hope for,
which is very surprising.
Yeah, their defensive line hasn't looked as great. I'm not saying they look bad; they still had some great plays, but just when you expect them to step up to get you off the field on 3rd down, they haven't really played that well. And this matchup reminds me a lot of a matchup that we saw 2 weeks ago with the Bills and the Steelers. I think this could be another game where if the Bills aren't on their A game, if the Bills aren't coming out firing on all cylinders, Josh Allen's making mistakes and getting pressured and getting sacked, strip sacked and all that. I think that this is a game that could play out, and I think that the Washington football team is a team you don't sleep against, and I think that it could be another ugly loss for them or an ugly win for the Washington football team. They could get, a turnover, block, punt. Taylor Heineke, I'm not saying that a lot of defenses are scared of him, but he's kind of a guy who you really haven't seen film on. You really don't know what he's about. They have Terry McLaurin, who's really good. Antonio Gibson, who's really good as well. JD, whatever his name is, McKissick, is really good and out of the backfield catching balls. So I think that this team could be a sleeper for the upset of the weekend, But still, I believe in the Bills. Josh Allen really hasn't looked all that convincing this season. Josh Allen had a 56% completion percentage this year so far, 449 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, not bad by any means, but not the year we're expecting him to have. And I do think that this is a game where you got to get right. You can't sleep on your opponent. And I think the Bills do come out looking pretty good and have them winning this game. But you always have to be careful.
Another close game, you think?
Another close game, yeah.
All right, moving on to the Thursday night game. Panthers versus Texans.
I thought we did that. Okay, now I go ahead.
A lot of people might find this game as a sleeper to me, but I honestly think it might be actually entertaining. I mean, we get to see Davis Mills at quarterback, but that's where I think the Panthers... that's where I think the Panthers win this game. I'm sorry, I'm just trolling. Tyrod Taylor obviously gives them the best chance to win, the Texans. But with him being out, I don't see that happening at all. I think the Panthers use this game as momentum going forward. Because after this, I know they face the Cowboys, who really aren't serious.
Scary,
yet. No, they're not serious yet. But just using this as momentum for the... Because they're on fire right now, if I'm being honest. The Panthers, they're coming off 2 very good wins in this defense. And if I'm them, you have to win this game going into Dallas, especially
and then the Eagles.
Whatever happens. And then the Eagles. And then the Eagles. Because whatever happens in Dallas that game, it's going to be 2 teams right off momentum.
Yeah.
And I expect that game to be very good. I'm saying whatever happens.
Yeah.
Because either way, if Cowboys lose, they're riding off momentum.
Momentum of what?
You're telling me if you lose to a division rival, you wouldn't want to win.
You don't have momentum. You're not like, hell yeah, bro. You lost. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, you still want to win if it's a division rival, considering the fact it's the Eagles, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I have the Panthers winning this game. Offense is too overpowered. The defense is a very bright spot this year. J.C. Horn. I see it as a blowout. There's not really much to say.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see J.C. Horn in my first game watching him like completely, because obviously I watch the games, but I'm not like looking at every single play.
Yeah.
But this is my first time watching him. I'm excited.
I think he has. I think he's already number 1 in like the quarterback passer rating or something like that when he's targeted. Yeah, it's like 2.8% or something like that. And
2.8%.
And everybody else is like 24, 30.
Yeah.
In the top 10. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like how our co-host Jeremiah mentioned in his TikTok. Follow TikTok, you guys will be in the description. Yeah, like he mentioned how this is a game where not a lot of people are gonna be interested in because of how it looks, but the storylines are there. I think that it's gonna be an interesting game to see how the Panthers
Davis Mills, man.
Yeah,
all you need.
Davis Mills, man. He's a new Ben DiNucci. And the Panthers, this is your first time being in the spotlight, being in a primetime game. But yeah, looking at the Panthers, they're the surprise team for a lot of people. Raiders, I don't think the Raiders are the surprise team because there are some people on the bandwagon, you know, or not on the bandwagon, on the hype train, you know. But looking at the Panthers, Sam Darnold, who I've been saying for a really long time, he was a product of his environment. He was just surrounded by trash, and he's finally coming in. I'm just saying, he's coming into a good organization, and he has a lot of pieces around him. And Tyrod Taylor, as we know, can't catch a break for the past year or so.
Oh my god.
It sucks for him. And I think this is going to suck for the Texans because you really had some confidence going into this game. You had, Tyrod Taylor looked really good week 1. Look at when he was playing against the Browns, and then this happened.
They were winning.
Yeah. And this Panthers defense, though, that is a bright spot. I think that is what's going to take over this game. And because if you look at it, having 10 sacks in 2 games. Again, one was against the Jets. But another one was against the Saints, who have a really good offensive line.
They're not known for giving up sacks.
Yeah, and then you have 3 interceptions as a team. One is thank you to Jameis Winston, just like throwing it up and backpedaling, I don't know. And you also have 9 tackles for loss. So I think that this defense is really good, really scrappy, underrated. I think Little Man was pretty much the one to hype up this defense and say that they could be the bright spot. You were right about that. They are the bright spot of this team. Why are you laughing? And Sam Darnold, I think he's going to have another game. I think the biggest thing for him, for a quarterback who isn't really proven, I think in the NFL, when it comes to elite quarterbacks, they obviously have leeway to just make crazy plays and make mistakes where you're kind of like, I'll live with that. You know what I mean? But Sam Darnold, he isn't that kind of player. So I think him having these decent games, having really good games, solid games, and keeping the football away from the defense, I think that's all you want. That's all you can ask from him.
And you know me, I like to put players on notice when they do good. One pass rusher who's not being talked about a lot as elite is Brian Burns. I mean, he just absolutely terrorized both those New Orleans tackles who are all pros.
Yeah.
Let's not forget. And now he gets to go. This is literally what I call baby food. He's going to absolutely wreck this game for the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch because obviously, backstory, Panthers were the number 1 team when I was a kid because of their colors.
He has a D'Angelo Williams jersey in there.
It's right there. But Yeah. Anyways.
So you saw this coming. You saw this coming from a mile away.
Yeah. Since I was like 6, I knew this was gonna happen. Go ahead. What's your next game?
Oh man.
Is that it? For...
Oh, we're getting into the new segment now.
Oh, yeah, new segment. My idea. If it backfired, it's Little Man's idea. But for the games that we really don't really care about, or I feel like it's just gonna be too time consuming, we're gonna have a mode called Rapid Fire. Okay, Patrick, cue the upbeat music. Little Man, go ahead.
Okay, for this segment, you didn't even explain what we're gonna say.
Oh,
we're just gonna give one line, one take on why we think this.
It's not one line.
Well, why we think this, whoever the games come down to, why we think that team will win.
Yeah.
But it's just really one take.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet, exactly. So first game we have Ravens-Lions.
They're playing the Lions.
They're playing the Lions.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. Falcons-Giants. I think the Giants need a win for momentum. Falcons really aren't that. Don't really look that good to me.
I disagree with you. I'm impressed on how the Falcons looked against the Buccaneers. Giants either look really bad.
Game.
Giants.
That's what you like to tell me.
Giants either look really bad against the Broncos or look really good against the Washington football team. Which team are we gonna get? I don't know.
Game again.
Yeah, again. So anything goes. Anything
But I'm
happen.
taking the Giants.
I'm taking the Falcons. Go ahead.
Dolphins versus Raiders. Tua is missing. Raiders are riding off huge momentum with 2 big wins. Derek Carr wins in the game.
Fins up. No, I'm kidding. I'm going with the Raiders. Derek Carr is playing probably his best football so far.
There's no way you
Looking incredible, having the most yards in the NFL. Going with the Raiders.
Cardinals versus Jaguars.
Kyler Murray, MVP.
MVP candidate. Easy. Short and sweet. Steelers versus Bengals.
Hey, wait, actually, bro, let's put money on this. Because remember, you were the one who was debating, saying that.
Oh, you want to put money on the Steelers not having Deontay Johnson or TJ Watt or Ben Roethlisberger possibly playing this week? Go ahead.
No, I was kidding. I'm still gonna go with. Just kidding. I'm going with the Bengals this week. I don't like the matchup. I think this offense is too good for the Bengals, and I think your offensive line for the Steelers haven't looked good.
I think it's time for Joey B to show out against the Steelers defense.
Yeah.
Jets and Broncos.
Broncos. I like how Teddy Bridgewater is. Again, like I said with Sam Darnold, you're not that good of a quarterback, but you're keeping the ball safe and you're making plays when you need it. I'm going with the Broncos.
I think the Broncos give Zach Wilson hell for the second week in a row, and I think they take this game.
That's gonna do it, guys. Thank you guys for sticking with us.
Still winning Rookie of the Year though.
Oh yeah.
No,
I'm not even gonna mention that, but okay. Yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for rocking with us. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys share. There's a lot of people
Thank you for rocking with us.
Shut up. There's a lot of people who watch our videos and still have yet to subscribe. Maybe we're not good enough. But thank you guys, and until next week.
Maybe we're not good enough.